Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of this amendment, which I have co-sponsored, that would remove a rider from this bill that would seriously compromise the effectiveness of the landmark Endangered Species Act, which was signed into law almost 40 years ago in 1973. The extinction rider in this bill is a sweeping action that will prevent the Fish and Wildlife Service from spending any money on listing new plants and animals under the Endangered Species Act, designating critical habitat, or upgrading species from threatened to endangered. At the same time, the bill maintains funding for delisting species, creating an incomplete and lopsided endangered species policy. Mr. Speaker, my constituents in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and the American people support the important mission of the ESA, and it's not hard to see why. Preserving animals and plants brings countless benefits to people, and the loss of a species can have dangerous and expensive consequences in the future. For example, the U.S. Geological Survey recently estimated that the loss of bats in North America would cost agricultural producers nearly $4 billion per year, including those in my district. We also never know which species of plants and animals may be important in developing life-saving medicines in the future. But the ESA's primary success to date has been to prevent the extinction of hundreds of species, including the American alligator, grizzly bear, and the gray wolf. Indeed, less than 24 species have gone extinct under the Act, and most of these species were already doomed to extinction by the time that they were listed. Perhaps the most iconic among these species saved by the Act is our national symbol, the bald eagle. On June 20, 1782, our founding fathers adopted the bald eagle as our national emblem. On the backs of many of our coins, we see an eagle with outspread wings. On the Great Seal of the United States, on the seal of this very House of Representatives, and in many places which are exponents of our nation's authority, we see the same emblem. Living as it does on the tops of lofty mountains and in river valleys as close as the Potomac, the eagle represents freedom. However, by the mid-20th century, the bald eagle was severely threatened and reduced to just 400 nesting pairs. Bald eagles were declared an endangered species in 1967 in the lower 48 states under a less cohesive, less effective act. Then the ESA was signed into law, and as a result of this, on July 4, 1976, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service officially listed the bald eagle as a national endangered species. And thanks to the Endangered Species Act, the Fish and Wildlife Service upgraded the bald eagle to threatened status in the lower 48 states in 1995, and officially removed it from the nationwide list in 2007. Today, after decades of conservation effort, the Interior Department reports that there are some 10,000 nesting pairs for us and for future generations to cherish. Because in large part of the ESA, my children have had the chance to see a bald eagle in its natural habitat. This amendment will remove the funding restriction on the listing and limit the funding to what has been spent on these activities in recent years. Additionally, the overall funding amount for the ESA and related programs of $138 million is significantly less than in past years, including in fiscal year 2008. Mr. Speaker, decisions about wildlife management should be made by scientists, not by politicians. Preventing listing is not the answer. We must allow the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to do their job and protect species while making improvements to increase the efficiency of this crucial program. As I close, I implore my colleagues to imagine if the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service had been restricted from listing the American bald eagle. This majestic creature, without corrective measures, would have been lost only to books and to our national memory. We have a responsibility to prevent the extinction of fish, plants, and wildlife, because once they're gone forever. We can't bring them back. I urge support for this amendment. And I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yield. I just want to commend the gentleman for an incredibly comprehensive and a thoughtful and credible presentation. I just want to, you mentioned the bald eagle. Just a few weeks ago, My grandchildren were out at Hood Canal, where I live, and on the beach, 3 bald eagles came down and landed. And it was like one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. And I just want to thank the gentleman for his support, his co-sponsorship of this amendment, and I appreciate your credibility and your forthrightness. Thank you.
I will.